Hey everybody, I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salvosen, and we are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you the knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer. But before today's show, let's listen to our sponsors. From traditional headsets to in-ear communications, Cavcon offers rugged and reliable choices for any communication challenge and any harsh environment. Cavcon's award-winning Talk Through Your Ears technology is specifically designed for clear and consistent in-suit communications. Whether you're working from a quiet control room or responding to an incident in a full level A, Cavcom has the comm system that's right for you. Any suit, any respirator, any radio, any environment. Check them out at cavcominc.com, that's CAVCOMINC.com, or give them a call at 866-547-4988. Hey everybody, we have a great episode coming up today, but before we start the show, we want to share some exciting news from the Hazmat Guys. As some of you may know, we have been working on a hazmat drill book for quite some time, and we're pleased to announce that it is finally available on Amazon. This book was written by contributors from the hazmat community based all around the United States, and we think it will provide a ton of value for both you and your department. The title of the book is The National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, 50 Drills to Improve Your Team, better known as NERD. No, this was not a mistake. Anyway, the goal of the book has been to help the hazmat community, and we hope that you'll take a moment to check it out and share it. We have the link in the show notes, and if you have a moment, please leave us a positive review in Amazon. We'd be very grateful. We wanted to get NERD on the bestseller list and give more exposure to our community. Again, the book is called National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, 50 Drills to Improve Your Team, and there's both a paperback and Kindle version available. Thank you, everybody.
Now let's get into the show.
All right. You want me to open or you want to open this one?
Oh, all right. I'm going to open it.
All righty.
What do you say?
Hey, everybody. This is.
I never do this. This is incredible.
Just do. You know what? It's Bob. It's your show. Say what the you want to say. We could actually have this as the opening.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something.
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys. This is the first time I think I may have ever opened up the show. This is incredible.
Give Bob a big round of applause, everybody.
Incredible. So you know what? We are doing part 2 of the
Chemical warfare agent monitors, as defined by NFPA
chemical
472.
agent monitors.
Chemical
right,
agent.
CAMs.
Wow, what did I say?
Warfare agents. But nonetheless, we are
CAMs.
heavy on the warfare side. And so before we get right back into this thing, I just want to let everybody know that we are going to be in Florida January 23rd-ish, I want to say, or Daytona Beach, lovely downtown.
Yes. There's a nude beach that they can meet us at, right?
I will be there.
Yes.
Selling Christmas ornaments. Leftover Christmas ones.
Leftovers. Tinsel. Bob's big in tinsel.
Yeah, that's right. And we will be at the Wisconsin State Hazmat Conference, which is coming up very shortly. Looking forward to getting up with some new friends up there and just kibitzing, like talking to people. You know,
I like kibitzing.
Yeah, kibitzing's good. So, anything you got before we crack this nut open again?
I'd like to remind people that we do have the lectures that are going on every month. They're online webinars. There are definitely conference quality material that we're pumping out. And by all means, if you, for whatever reason, are running a team and you would like to have your guys sit down to one of these, reach out to us. We can definitely set up department-style accounts to let your guys listen to the webinar. It's actually very interactive. There's a Q&A afterwards. It's pretty good. We got a lot of really good feedback on them.
Everything's going smashingly so far.
Yes.
So let's get right back into this thing. And luckily, because it was so stressful to do the opening, I got the first and definitely the easiest thing that's out there, the color change chemistry, which luckily we just did a whole episode on. That was in episode 155. It's only a mere 2 episodes ago.
Yes. In fact, if you're going, crap, I have to listen to colorimetrics again, you don't. You don't. Just go, pause, go back and re-listen to the last show, and then when you're done, you can unpause from here. And that's it. That's all we're going to ask of you.
So without even belaboring the whole point, we're just going to go right into the next one. It's infrared absorption spectroscopy. And I hate saying those words.
The spec, it's the spec.
Spectroscopy.
I feel like my mouth is just...
Yeah, it doesn't work well. So what are they?
Well, they're meters that pick up chemical.
All right, moving along to FTIR.
I guess the big question really is, well, all right, we all know that we're dealing with meters, but how do they work? And they work off a very simple concept. And the very simple concept is that every molecule that's out there absorbs, all right, I won't say every because I'm sure there's a few that don't, but most molecules that are out there are going to absorb infrared light at a very specific frequency, right? So if I have a molecule and I shine infrared, at some point it's going to be, that molecule is going to absorb that infrared. And at that specific frequency, I can then turn around and say this chemical is present.
Right.
I can do that because if that chemical is present and I have 100 photons of a specific IR wavelength shining down a tube and only 10 of them get to the other side, that means they were absorbed by whatever chemical is specific to that
So what
frequency.
they do is they use a known chemical, shine the light until it all dies out, and then they say, okay, well, GA goes away at 123.2 nanometers. Great. So if 123.2 nanometers goes away, well, then we have a winner on this spectrum. They basically do it backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
So
when it goes black, they're like,
got it.
We got ourselves a winner. Let's make a meter, shine that specific wavelength through, and when the sensor doesn't see it anymore, we got it.
Now, NFPA says this is infrared absorption spectroscopy. What me and Mike have spoke about before is NDIR.
Yes, which
same thing.
Same.
Non-absorptive infrared spectroscopy. This is non-dispersive. Yes, that too. It's even third one.
We've got a lot of really big words in front of us.
So that's exactly what he's talking about. Is that these meters are like kind of this gas or this agent is eating up some type of infrared wavelength, and it's not just one; it's a whole spectrum of ones.
Right, because sometimes some of these can absorb multiple. So if you have 1 meter out there that's shining all these different frequencies out, when one frequency gets blocked, it turns around and goes, ooh, this is what we have.
So I'll just give you a couple examples. And again, these meters are very sensitive, but not in the sensitive range like IMS we were talking about in the last episode. We're talking about these things are very sensitive and very specific. Big difference here. Okay, so these things they're very specific and they're very sensitive. So in GA, it's 1.2 parts per billion. All these things we're talking about here are all parts per billion.
And that's a low. That's low.
That is really low. 1.2 parts per billion in 2 seconds, or 0.3 parts per billion in 1 minute. Meaning that as the time duration and all these these lengths and durations that me and Mike are going to discuss here, you're going to get two different numbers. You're going to get 2 seconds, which is the quick shot, and the 1 minute, which is the long shot, meaning that the resolution gets better. As the drift tube gets longer, the resolution gets better. And so you're going to see the resolution, it's a lot lower because its resolution's better. That tick got better. So for GA, 1.2 part per billion in 2 seconds, 0.3 part per billion in 1 minute. GB, 0.7 parts per billion in 2 seconds, 0.2 parts per billion in 1 minute. GD, 1.1 parts per billion in 2 seconds, 0.3 parts per billion in 1 minute. Now, again, GF, 0.9 part per billion. Let me just put this in a little perspective. That's parts per nanometer. So you can say it's 900 parts per nano.
My God.
Like, dude, that is retarded small.
The only other meter that I know that goes down to the nanometer range like that is our mercury meters.
Oh, totally.
I can't think of another meter that would be able to be in the nano.
Even the GCMS, I don't think goes down to that, and that is like pro grade.
Yeah, that's
so we're talking about
insane.
mega, mega small.
Yeah, really small. And it's not just the nerve agents either, right? You can see the same thing in our mustard agents, where you're looking at like 3 parts per billion in 2 seconds and 0.8 parts per billion in 1 minute. Lewisite is a whopping 4 parts per billion. Wow, they really has a bad time picking up Lewisite, huh? 4 parts per billion. And if it sits for a minute, it can pick up 1 part per billion. And VX is about 22 parts per billion within about it's about 2 parts per billion it is 22 parts per billion in 2 seconds and 4 parts per billion in 1 minute.
Yeah. So very high sensitivity, very fast selection. But a good thing is non-destructive, right? Non-destructive, which anytime and this is just Uncle Bob talking to you here. Anytime I hear non-destructive, I means that I can almost double tap my meter. So,
what do you mean?
It's not necessary, but if it came down to it, let's say I had like a very limited sample, like the team went downrange, grabbed a bag full of air, which don't laugh at that. That happens, right?
It does.
It happens.
Totally does.
And listen, if I got to come back and I got to do HAP sighting, and that is a specific bag of air, or other type of monitoring, they might grab a garbage bag of air, and they might tape the thing shut, and you might sample out of a little slice with a piece of duct tape over it, over and over and over again. So what I'm saying is, if you are very limited in your air, you might take this meter and stick it in that airspace, and then whenever the exhaust is, I can stack a second meter after. You can do that with this meter, which is handy. It's just, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying it can be done.
It can be done. Theoretically, it is possible.
But as far as the limiting factors on this one, humidity. Humidity's another one.
That's a huge one with
because everywhere that's in, I'm going to say in the Northeast, I know humidity, or even the Northwest. I'm not going to even count them out, but anywhere in the Northwest or the Northeast, humidity is a part of life. My hair is terrible 9 months of the year. All 6 of my hairs goes way a kilt.
I think your hair looks phenomenal right now.
Well, thank you. It is Halloween.
It is. It is. It fits. It fits. And one of the other things that kind of limits these factors, as low as these concentrations can be, believe it or not, this at the IDLH, it has a difficult time picking up the things that are in concentration at IDLH because the IDLH is so small.
Totally.
These are like So that's just remember that it'll pick it up, but if you're dealing with items below the IDLH, it may not be the sensitivity that you're looking for. You might want to then switch over to like the SAW.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's one of those very rare ones where you want to pull that one out. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But let's we're not even drinking.
Not
tonight.
even.
I just want to. Not even. We're just It's Halloween.
We're high on
and
metering.
We're strung out on Reese's Pieces. Bob has had his first bout of sugar in 3 months,
years.
so he's a little kooky. I just got whooped in jiu-jitsu class, so I'm feeling all kind of batty. Awesome. It's a good night, very good night.
So
let's throw FTIR into the mix. All right, FTIR is how do you pronounce it? Fourier transfer infrared.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a spectroscopy. Well, it might be a spectroscopy. No. This is the we lovingly call it. Well, we were lovingly call it the yellow football for a while. It's basically it's a meter that instead of taking in samples of air, it will take in. It doesn't take in at all. Let me rephrase that. You are able to sample liquids and solids right on the actual meter itself. This kind of starts to land into the non-vapor world of meter detecting.
I am very weak at this one.
Okay, no problem. I'll just keep going.
Wait. Yeah, I'm very weak at this one. Flat out, I couldn't even contribute to this one.
Not a problem. Not a problem. What?
I'll throw you the questions.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay. Works for me.
So then if that's the case, then how do they work?
Well, remember we were talking before about the whole a specific molecule absorbs a specific frequency of infrared radiation.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And how the NDIR throws out one specific wavelength, and that's it. The FTIR does the opposite. It throws out a lot of wavelengths of infrared, and then it looks to see what comes back. And if what comes back can be graphed, what doesn't come back doesn't show up well on the graph, right? So if chemical X absorbs a frequency of 400 nanometers, and all the infrared light that comes back is there except for that 400 frequency wavelength, you're going to see a dip if you were to actually graph that out.
So, this is almost the opposite.
Yeah, it's actually exactly the opposite.
Interesting.
It is exactly the opposite. So it throws out all these different wavelengths. It sees what comes back, and then by seeing what comes back, it says, okay, well, if this came back, then this didn't. So therefore, I must have this present.
Okay.
My computer's yelling at me. Before we lose everything. There we go.
All right. I'm gonna
there we go.
Go right into it. So then a limiting factor of this thing is again, moisture in the air. It's like moisture is the killer of everything.
It really is. It's amazing how just everything is destroyed.
Yeah,
by water.
You can actually breathe into this thing and see it jump.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's one of the whole reasons why you have to take a background spectrum, because the humidity in one area is going to be different than the humidity in the other, and it needs to take that into account before it actually throws off all those infrared waves.
Interesting. What about monitoring? How would you use it or not use it, actually?
It's sample based. So unlike the other ones that take in air, you could take a saw and you could put it down on a shelf and you could allow it to sit there and you could operate, and if something happens to come by, it'll pick it up. FTIR is not like that at all. You have to take a sample, bring the sample to the meter, and say, read this one sample, and it will read that one sample, and it will give you a conclusion, and that's it. You can't continuously monitor with this.
And it obviously can't detect vapors, right? I mean, at least not in amounts low enough to make it go and give you an alarm in that time frame.
Right. You can see, like you said before, right? Like you breathe on it, and you can see a change in the water frequency. You can do that, but you won't be able to do that consistently enough for it to actually come up with anything.
So let's get into mass spec, specifically high pressure mass spec. And what's the trend in the marketplace right now is the hybrid high pressure mass spec. And we're talking about we're calling you out, 908. We're calling you out right now. It's 908, MX 908, a pretty good meter. I'm not a fan or a foe of any meter. I like this meter though personally because it takes a liquid that, let's say, is either volatile or non-volatile. It takes a solid that's volatile or non-volatile, and it will pull it under such a vacuum that it will elicit a response. Now, if you
No, it specifically says high pressure. How could it go under a vacuum? It says high pressure.
Yeah, that's a marketing thing.
In the name.
That's a marketing thing.
Right? No, it says high pressure.
Okay, well, if I had high pressure, then my volatility would go down. Right? So if I have a liquid that doesn't want to get up into the air and I put pressure on it, then it really, 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 really doesn't want to get up in the air. But if I put a super vacuum on it, now it becomes a vapor, which is very easy for a lot of these meters to read. So when they say high pressure, I think what they're doing really is to put it into the marketing space. But us as technicians are a little bit more savvy, and we're saying, well, it's actually a high vacuum. Pressure is the wrong word.
Low vacuum.
Low pressure, low vacuum pressure.
Low pressure vacuum.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to ask this. We're going on to a very specific show, Mick Donato, and I'm going to ask this to Danny. He seems to be very savvy in this type of thing. Danny is my hero. My hero. I look up to this kid. Just puts out the best work I've ever seen. Bring a tear to a glass eye. But anyway, not to get off the topic here, but mass spec. Yeah, they're eliciting this with a high vacuum, and that's the thing, is the difference between the 908 and the 908X is that they were able to pull more of a vacuum. And what actually is happening is that they're... Good.
It pulls less vacuum, so it's higher pressure. It's a weird play on words. Where like they're saying like, all right, and I'm making up these numbers. If another mass spec is pulling a vacuum of 100 millimeters of mercury, ours only has to pull a pressure of minus 20 millimeters of mercury.
To do the same work.
To do the same work. So technically, minus 20 is a higher pressure than minus 100, but it sounds a fuckload better than low vacuum.
Was I on par with the first part? Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm going to cut that whole part out.
Okay. But it is just a marketing term. Just don't be confused with the high pressure. It's still pulling a vacuum.
Did I say your thing with how they work?
No, not yet.
So I'm just going to go into
Do you want to get in? Do you want to do that one?
No, you do it. So
okay. All right.
Let's talk about how they work.
They are a relatively complicated piece of equipment, but the actual technology is pretty straightforward. If you were to take a plate, a dish, and you were to throw it against the wall, it would smash into a whole bunch of pieces, right?
I would hope so. Or very weak.
Very, very weak. So let's say you had a plate from grandma's house, and you had a plate from your mom's house, and you had a plate from your wife's house, and somebody said, hey, figure out which plate this is by the pieces. You would be able to do that, right? You could look at the individual pieces and be like, oh, these different pieces belong to grandma's plate.
My mother's plate fit over my head because she would hit me with them. I would know which one it would be.
That explains why the light shines.
I have a dented head. They call me Spaulding because I have so many stitches in my head. But go ahead.
So the similarities are very similar. A sample goes into, for lack of better words, a chamber. That chamber pulverizes the molecule and splits it into different pieces. And the molecule is always going to split the same way.
It cleaves.
So cleaves, right? That's the key to this whole thing, is that every molecule, I don't know, let's make up a molecule. Toluene. Every toluene
certain
molecule
bonds
is
want to
split
at certain points, and that's just the way it goes.
The exact same way. Then it takes these pieces and it throws them down a charge tunnel, and it basically sees how long it takes for them to stick to the negative side or the positive side, and based upon that, it kind of
based upon mass.
And
because the more massive it is, the farther it goes. The lighter it is, it sticks earlier. And it's like, oh, you can think of it. I think our good friend Mark Norman, Dr. Mark Norman, said there was like a basketball net. And if it goes in the basketball net, well, then it goes in the basketball net. But it doesn't. It just passes along and goes into the next basketball net. And it keeps going until it goes into a basketball net. That's a pretty good analogy for that whole visualization.
And then depending on which basketball net it goes with, right? So let's say the pieces are, let's say we have 40 different basketball nets, and if basketball net 4, 10, 15, and 40 are filled, then I know we have toluene.
There you go. That's the key, right? So that's a huge capability of it, because it can really kind of pick up quite detailed information, although it needs a library. It needs a library. And I will say this, is that when we first, I remember when certain companies came to our work and they said, well, we have this company and we want to show the thing. And they were like, well, it only has 400 things in its library. Well, that same company's at like 4,000. That's a lot. That's a good amount.
That's a lot.
And if they were able to go from 400 to 4,000 in only, like, let's say 4 or 5 years, what's to say they can't go to 40,000 in the next 4 years? It's like, that's a decent sized library. And so they're very capable of seeing very small, fine. And when I say trace, I mean frigging trace. Now, go ahead.
Give them an example of how you take a sample for this meter, so that they can really understand.
Okay,
trace.
so what I'm saying is that when I was taught on how to do the sample, they use a Teflon, and again, the company I'm using doesn't matter. It's all basically the same. They use a Teflon swipe. You go over to the sample that you think you have a trace, and when I say trace on the surface, I'm saying you can't even see it. It's not like you go into a pound of Coke on a dead hooker that you're going to just swipe through that pound of Coke. You don't even see it. You take a wipe of the surface, and now you take a fresh one and you wipe the surface of the swab you just did. Okay, so I've literally halved it.
So I'm swiping the swipe.
Right,
swipe.
so I'm on second generation on the second site. Now I take the second generation and I take a third, brand new clean one, and I swipe the second generation. I've caught, actually, that might be logarithmic. That might be. I've halved the half.
Half. So
I've quartered.
Yeah, half the half.
Okay.
Quartered.
So
right.
What we were originally taught was to go down between 3 and 6 generations. Now they're saying 9.
Yeah.
You're halving the half, 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 and it goes on, etc., etc. And they're still blowing out the cores because it's so strong. That's how trace I'm talking about. Like, we're talking about stuff that is very, 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 very faint. They're picking this stuff up. This is not the stuff you see in the airports when they do the bomb squad on that wink, wink, random person, right? That is a totally different technology, but mass spectroscopy is definitely in that realm of how sensitive it is. That this meter, it's pretty good.
It is. It's
pretty cool.
I have to say, it is pretty cool. In fact, one of the only things that I could say the limiting factor on this is exactly what Bob said, is that we're blowing out the cores left and right on these things. And if you don't know what a core is, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But we're just putting too much into the meter, and we have to just continue to break it down so that we can actually let the machine do what it needs to do. And that brings us to the kind of the big brother of mass spec, which is the GCMS, right? The gas chromatography mass spectroscopy.
We did it.
Yes, I did it.
High five. Great success.
And what is this? It is a giant word, but the word is only eclipsed by the machine itself.
I hate to even talk about this thing. The in the beginning of episode 156, we were talking about the CSTs, the civil support teams. They use this meter that I'm going to say, the HAPsite.
And they're good at it.
They're very good at it.
Like,
they're competent.
Like, there's a guy dedicated
they're
to
competent,
the
which is more than I can say. The HAPsite went out of vogue
favor
about 10 years ago, much to the chagrin of the brass that bought these things. They were $150,000 a pop. They were garbage when they walked in. My personal, again, they're probably going to call me tomorrow and MF me, but it is what it is. Gas chromatography is the gold standard of chemical identification. There isn't a lab in the country or in the world that doesn't have one of these in some shape or form to figure out what they have here.
Unfortunately, firefighters are the copper standard of human beings.
We are idiots and retards on the street.
Yes.
Now, the thing is that when you have one of these things, this is lab-grade equipment, and it needs to be treated like lab-grade equipment. And your lab in the lab the lab sits in doesn't go bouncing down the streets. We're starting there. So first off, this lab-grade equipment is calibrated to very, very fine standards. And it takes very, very fine hands to operate it. And when you're bouncing down Manhattan and Brooklyn streets that haven't been paved in, 60, 70 years since the cobblestones went away, she don't fare very well.
Yeah, when fire trucks break on the streets of Manhattan, the GCMS isn't going to
generally doesn't fare up very well. So they generally don't do it. Now, I will say that the newest iteration that we've been playing with, me and Mike, which I will throw a bone out here because it's the only one I've seen that's of the ilk for me to throw a bone to, is the FTIR Griffin 510.
Yeah.
Now, this thing, it looks like a huge octagon that's on steroids. It looks like a boom box in an octagon format. However, I will say it has all the bells and whistles of a lab grade, but is mil spec. And so this thing, you put an extremely small amount of the substance in the chamber, and it pulls it apart. I'm not getting into the science of it. It pulls it apart to the point where it puts a graph up on the screen. And each peak and valley means something. And the problem is that a lot of those peaks and valleys overlap. So water has certain peaks and valleys. Bismuth has other peaks and valleys. Fentanyl has other peaks and valleys. So when you look at this thing over, like those old acetate layouts that we used to see when we were kids, when you see them over and over and over, and you just draw the tops, you lose a lot of the valleys.
Yeah.
This machine has the ability to pull the valleys apart. And it's just not this one. The problem, you need a PhD.
Yeah. Have you ever now I don't know code, like computer code, like programming, but every once in a while I accidentally click on something on a website that makes me see the code.
And I'm like, I'm smart.
And I have no idea what I'm looking at. And that's exactly what GCMS is. All right. It is basically, it's going to give you something and you're like, this means absolutely nothing to me. So they're coming a long way. What we both did love about the FTIR machine is that it started to take some of the technology and the human factor that is needed and putting it into the machine, where it is kind of capable to a degree of telling you, hey, you have diesel. Hey, you have toluene. Hey, you have this. Hey, you have this. So it is getting there. If they could get it to be more fireman friendly, then that would be even more better.
And I'll even throw it back in the early days of GCMS. Mass spec wasn't really out back then, but Raman, FTIR were out back then. And a big term that you might hear out there on the street is reach back. This is a fancy word for saying, I'm an idiot. I'm going to send it to somebody that knows what the hell's going on. And so, help me. And they would download the spectrum, send it to some nerd in a closet, and the guy would look at it and say, yeah, you have A, B, C, and D. And thank you, sir. Hang up the phone. That's what happened. So reach back is seriously, it's a nerd in the closet that's waiting to help you out in GCMS. The next one we're going to talk about, and FTIR were the big ones that were out there.
Right. Right. And that next one that we're talking about is Raman spectroscopy. And hold on to your horses because this is our last one. So sit down. And Raman is kind of the big brother to FTIR.
Yeah. And
not the big brother. It's the same brother. Twin brother.
It's a twin brother. That's the opposite brother. I'm going to say that generally. Raman is the opposite of FTIR. We just said that FTIR throws out a ton of different infrared wavelengths all at one time, and it sees which one does not come back. Well, Raman does the opposite. And so it throws out A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then it says what comes back in there. And so one sees water. It has what they call fluorescence. You might hear this on the road. And fluorescence is a big no-go. And also brown glass is also another no-go, bro. I'm going to say that over and over because that's one of the guys in our fire says that no-go, bro. So, yeah, I'm busting his chops. So, yeah, the two different things. If you listen to the FTIR, just negate it.
Yeah, it works. It works in a completely, like Bob said, opposite is the best way to describe it, because a lot of things we use this. We always use these in conjunction with each other.
Wait, hold on one second. I want to say before you go into the second thing is that's very important. They have to be
that we
used
use them
in
together
conjunction to tell you the whole piece. It's like you're only looking at the odd pages in a book. You have to know the even pages as well to get the story. And so that's a very important thing. And when one business, and I'm not going to say who they are, it might have a business, a meter called the Gemini. They put out one.
Realize that these two things should go together every time.
It was basically like you can use FTIR or you can use Raman, and it's in the same package. You're like, oh shit, this is great. And then you're like, wait, I can only use one or the other. Wait a second, this isn't so great. And so it was better, again, more expensive to work both of them simultaneously and get both the answers at the same time. But I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No problem at all. So the always use the if you can, always use the two together. It is nice. Its capabilities are very similar to the FTIR, right? It's got a graph, so it can be strewn by bad data, things that because it works off that whole graph thing. The biggest capability of it really is the ability to see through glass and see through containers like plastic and things like that. And that is, it's a huge one. It limits your exposure. It limits your contamination. It allows you to take a sample and bring it in instead of working in the hot zone. It is a very, very nice meter to
very versatile. And it can be, well, one of the things you have to worry about is what's in the library. This is one of those library type meters where it needs to have stuff in the library, and they're constantly improving the library.
Like so many things, they're constantly improving. So, and that that plays to future stuff too, guys. Don't sit there and go, if a meter manufacturer comes up to you and goes, "Hey, I've got this great technology. Can you please buy our meter? It only sees 3 things, but by buying this meter, you will help us be able to see 400 things in a year." That's big. We have to support our meter manufacturers. Like, you really do. And I'm not even saying this like to bolster business for anybody, but by buying, sometimes you have to buy a meter that is only so but has phenomenal capability, and just wait until
that is a very, very good point. Because that's the gamble that we took on one manufacturer that only had a paltry 500 things in its ability, and now it's got 4,000. Yeah. Not saying that we kept them afloat, but nonetheless, I mean, seriously, you have to sometimes take gambles in order to make the soup. So that's a big thing, and there are lots of things that are listed in the fluorescence of this meter. I'm going to say that's probably the biggest thing that is a negative. When I say fluorescence, what I mean by that is it's not able to be seen. That's
for whatever
it is
reason.
what it is.
Right. For whatever reason, it's blinded. And similar to the FTIR, this is not a passive air monitoring system. This is a bring the sample, run the sample, and that's it. Speaking of that's it.
If you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and leave us a positive review. And don't forget to check out the book, National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, or NERD, on Amazon.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys. And take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484 and go to www.thehazmatguys.com and sign up for the newsletter.
We seriously look forward to your feedback about any of the information provided, and we also want to hear about interesting incidents that you were a part of. So you can send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com. And remember, any of the information that you share with us, if we put it on air, can always remain anonymous.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job. Get into the job.